योगः कर्मसु कौशलम्.
So hello everyone, I am Kushboo Shah. I am an industrial product designer and I am based out of Ahmedabad itself. So I'm an industrial product designer since the last 8 to 10 years and I have my independent practice, design practice by the name of Studio Juxta. We are basically into design consultation for industrial product designs and any kind of physical products that need to get made and manufactured. So yes, starting with the is basically design thinking for innovation. I've been taking this subject since the past 4 years, even with IIT Gandhinagar. So and we have found that it is really helpful uh, introduce this subject to students in engineering or even non-design background. So that has been my main aim apart from my like my design consultation. I have been actively involved in design thinking, like taking design thinking to students and trying to inculcate that mindset, inculcate that whole culture of bringing that to the forefront when it comes to education. And since the last, I think, 3 to 4 years, the education policy, the NEP to 2020, that is mainly related to the education in schools. So they have also acknowledged the importance. So currently, I'm also working with a team to come up with a module for school level for design thinking. Yes. So yeah, so let's start with what is design thinking. So from what I know, a lot of you have been studying design thinking in your semester. I don't really know in detail approach of how the subject is taught. So we'll just do a quick introduction of what is design thinking for people who know, and people, the first year students might not also be very aware of the subject, right? Basically, what is design thinking? When you break apart the whole word design and thinking, what is design? Design is basically when you use the term even otherwise, in a non-technical way, in a non-academical way. Design, when you say something is made by design, it is planned, it is created for a particular specific solution to make something better, right? You have designed this vehicle. So the vehicle was all, there were vehicles before that, but you have designed it for a particular solution or to better it in a particular way or to innovate it, right? So that is what design is: plan, innovate, and create to make something better. Whereas what is thinking? Thinking is to think. It's a concept of thought process, processing and reasoning of thoughts and facts by your mind, right? So that is thinking. So now coming to a very simple solution, simple definition, so that you can just internalize this and understand what is design thinking without a fancy definition and sort of mugging up what a definition is. Because here we're not for mugging up. Here we're to understand and inculcate it in our basic mind as a mindset. So design thinking is basically to think. If you can see my cursor, to think, plan, innovate, and create. For what? To make something better. And throughout this, you're doing this through processing and reasoning of thoughts and facts that you collect. Right? So in very simple terms, this is what design thinking is. You think, plan, create, innovate, and create to make something better. Right? And this by definition. So what is design thinking by definition? Is it is a problem solving methodology. It is a methodology. Okay, it is not a particular subject, it is not a particular thing. It's a methodology which guides you to solve something by practicing innovative and creative thinking. So to practice design thinking, you have to first open up our mind to innovative and creative thinking. And that is what from what I understand, what you would be learning under design thinking, different exercises. Right? And so today we're talking about design thinking for innovation. So what is innovation? Innovation is the introduction of something new. If you see, if you Google or open the dictionary and ask for a definition of innovation, is basically introduction of anything new. It's different than invention. It's different than discovery. It is innovation. Anything done in a new way is an innovation. It can be a new method, a new idea, a new product, anything, right? So how does one reach innovation being, from any of these three departments, which I'll explain the circle diagram, Venn diagram. So basically, design thinking for innovation, it's a discipline that uses the creative sensibilities. So when you're using design thinking to get innovative solutions, so how do you get innovative solutions? So you meet the people's need, that is human desire. You understand what the human desires are with respect to what you're trying to innovate. You understand the technical feasibility of making that particular product work, product, service, whatever, right? And at the same time, it has to be viable in a business sense. So when you are fulfilling the human need, the technological feasibility need, and the business viability need is when innovation happens. That is when exactly innovation happens. So this diagram, we will be coming back to it as a conclusion and as an analysis of once we start with the case studies also. But for one thing, if you have to remember from this lecture and take back from this lecture, that is this. Currently most of you are, from what I understand, are engineers here, or like engineers to be, you are still studying engineering. So a lot of you currently would be doing projects, or in the near future be doing some technological innovation, right? Like, so you would be inventing different technology, you'll be writing a different kind of code that makes a different product, right? Or a different vehicle, chemicals composition. So that is all technology. You'll be inventing and doing discoveries, and this called truly innovative is when you make sure that how is it fulfilling a human desire. That is one point, right? How is it fulfilling human desire? Okay, fine. If it is taking care of a current human need that is there in the society right now, in the market right now, then the second point comes of how are you making it viable in a business way, right? Only then the innovation will be truly successful, which will, it will cover all the 3 points. So we'll come more on that, of what is design thinking for innovation. This is design thinking of frameworks. So from what I understand, a lot of you already have an idea. We will still go through this. So basically, design thinking comes in 5 stages. The first stage is empathy. You understand the problem. It's like basically, it's like any other thing that you are doing in day-to-day, design thinking is also mainly to come up with a solution, right? Whatever we are doing, whatever you are studying, whatever, even any problems at home, there is always, whenever you're working on something, it's always to find a solution. Be it in a society where people have misunderstanding, people are fighting, what are you working for? If you are the chief of something, you're finding a solution. Ghar pe you have a leakage problem, right? A leakage problem. That time, maybe you're not working as an engineer, but you're overall as a human being, you're working towards finding a solution, right? What did Thomas Alva Edison do in his time? There was a need for something like which we now call bulb, but there was a need for a source of illumination, so as to say, right, in the most basic sense. And that's why, that since there was a need, there was a problem of darkness, because of this whole time in the night, he found a solution, which is a bulb, right? So same way, design thinking is a framework for innovation. What we are going towards through design thinking is, of course, finding a solution. Everything everyone does is finding a solution, be it a mathematical solution or whatever. But finding a solution in an innovative and a creative way, which gives you the most possible, best, tried and tested result that is most likely to be successful, right? That's what design thinking framework helps us do. So the first step is empathizing. What is empathizing? So empathizing is basically to understand all the human challenges and the human context of the problem, finding the right problem, right? If you're asked to, say, design a particular vehicle for a particular tribal community in Kutch, then what will you do? When you sit here and design something for them, understanding, oh, they live in this kind of house, they do this. No, you have to first understand their day-to-day life, You go, so for example, you go there, you understand what are their actual challenges, which are like living in the cities, we'll never understand. So I'm just giving you very basic examples so that you have something to relate to when we're talking about this whole process, right? So empathizing is basically understanding and finding the right problem. Then from empathize, we go to define. Once the problem is found, then you define it in a way that why is it important. You do the whole research ka analysis, the conclusion of the research and the data that you've received, understand and create a point of view, which is also called a product project brief. So you make your brief very strong at what are you exactly working towards. So you decide your direction. When you define, you decide your direction के कौन से direction में solution ढूंढना है हमको, right? So you figure out the whole context in the first two stages of empathize and define. Then this whole curve is going this way. So it is ideate. So why is it important? Again, so why is the whole process important? When you ideate, basically here whatever problem you have defined, whatever problem area you have defined for your product or for your challenge, this is the area where you come up with all different kind of solutions, right? And you would be learning that in your design thinking. So I won't take much time there. And from ideation, you go to prototyping, where you test whatever you thought of, you go and test it as making, quick prototypes. That is it going to work? I'm expecting this thing to work with this way. You make a prototype, test it. Oh no, this is not working in this way, but the other part is still a problem. So you again go back to ideation, create changes, make changes, iterate, and again go back, right? The best part about this whole curve is that you fail back and forth again and again until you find a right solution. So one of the very other important thing that design thinking expects you and tells you to do is not to be afraid of failure. Failure, it's a stepping stone towards moving ahead. So until you succeed in what you want to make, you go back to ideate and come back and start giving form to your solution, to your innovation, right? And when that happens, you finally test, and that's when the whole product is finally successfully done, or the whole product or the whole process, right? That is what design thinking actually is. And this framework is being used in very different ways. I'm sure you will be learning that in your course further, right? So again, breaking those five, what are we basically doing? In empathizing, we are diverging, like we are getting all this, we are like opening up our eyes and looking at all the data, looking at things around, taking the environment inside and define, again, then we are closing down and then defining from whatever data we got, right? Then again in ideating, you're again opening your mind, seeing all the possible solutions. And then again, when you're making prototype, you're shortlisting your ideations, your concepts. So again, you're closing your, you're narrowing down your solutions to your final prototype, right? So this is another way of explaining what design thinking in a much simpler way. Okay, so yes, in conclusion, what is it? It's observing with empathy how people interact with the environments and employ an iterative hands-on approach to creative, innovative solutions. What are the skills you develop through design thinking that will be important, So this whole part, now that we start, it's about how like what about design thinking will be helpful to you, even if you don't, like you're not going to be a designer. 90% of you will not end up being a designer, do masters in designing or something, right? But still, as design thinking, what will help you in your journey moving forward as a student, later as a professional in the field, be it an engineer. A lot of you will go into, say, managing, management studies or so, a master's in your same field. Then how is this going to still help you? So what are you going to, the skills that you will develop in design thinking is visualizing, creative thinking, which will help in any of the subjects that you face forward. Actually, design thinking also helps on a personal level to solve problems personally, not just professionally. So that's why design thinking is actually a mindset. So whatever is being taught to you currently under your course of design thinking in each semester, I would just ask you to take it as, a mindset learning. You are learning a mindset. You're not learning a subject like mathematics. You're not learning a subject like mechanical something and all that, Once it's not required, in certain cases it's required. It's a mindset that one should try to inculcate as, they're one of the default way of thinking. So these are the skills that you will be developing by learning your design thinking subject. That is problem solving attitude, which is very important these days, right? And why are you learning design thinking? So let us come to the main understanding of how the whole subject of design thinking actually came into the forefront, right? So basically, what it encourages is telling you that you all have very unique minds, thoughts, talents, and strength. Each one of you, even though you're doing the same engineering course right now, everyone has different advantages. Like you would know, some of you would be good at one particular subject, understanding, say, fluid mechanical understanding. One of you is good at, like more technical, like core physics things. Some of you are very good at coding. So you all are very unique, like strengths. Even outside of the whole engineering subjects, some of you are good at leadership. Some of you are very good at analyzing. Some are very good at R&D of something. Some of you are very good at the workshop work, right? So all of you are very unique strengths. And as per design thinking, you have to use these unique strengths, understand what your unique strengths are and how you develop them to make to develop your own unique thinking of solution based, as like, solving problems through your unique skills and your attitude. So that's why it is said that design thinking is basically a mindset. That is what I'll again repeat. Use your uniqueness, honor whatever your unique strengths, capabilities is. Also understand what your unique limitations are, and use design thinking as a subject to empower your creative thinking, right? So what basically, as a subject, as a mindset, what design thinking, how you should ideally be using it for innovation is, you learning new subjects and skills every other day, every other semester, through your external exposure of the world. So many things that you will be coming across that is adding to the value of your learning of your student life, right? So that is all these parts. Then design thinking mindset is what you are learning, like through in different semesters in your college also. So that is basically teaching you to for problem solving. Now, how is it exactly empowering in your head? It is getting interwoven with your current subjects and skills that you're already otherwise learning. So don't keep design thinking as an independent subject. Use it as a collective things to join the dots, right? You're like joining these dots that you're learning, the knowledge, through this mindset that will help you come up with creative, unique thought process and be creative as an engineer, be creative as a technical person, right? Creative in your solution. And that is what that is what will get you to innovative thinking. So there's just another one very small way of telling you that, basically, in the, say, a decade earlier or 2 decades earlier, knowledge was not something so easily accessible as we have it today, right? So the value of knowledge is there, but at the same time, knowledge is available at the click of a button. Today, I don't know something, I can just Google it in like 2 seconds, right? So knowledge has become data which is equally available, sort of, to everyone. Yes. So how do you make yourself distinct from the rest of the people to, go ahead, move ahead in life, right? Or to be successful in your own ways, to make yourself unique. So what basically can be done when knowledge is available to everyone in the world equally, sort of? Yeah, so it is basically what is important is how are you connecting these dots. So these dots are knowledge or data that is available in the world, right? But how an individual is connecting the knowledge that is around them, that is there in your reach, how you connect those dots in the most innovative way to solve new age problems is what is going to define you as a different individual, a different technical person, right? As a professional. So that is what exactly subjects like creative thinking, innovative thinking, and design, like it's basically the same thing, like innovative and creative thinking encourages. That don't be limited to just one way of thinking. It's not necessary that you go only from A to B. People have been doing A to B in over the years, but how do you make yourself different and distinct by creative? What is creative solution? It is basically trying out different things, looking at a problem in a very different perspective that somebody has not seen, and trying to create an innovative solution. So as engineers, as though you learn technological subjects in the most technical way to understand facts, to understand the basic laws of how everything works, you should also try to hone your creative skills, because you have the acumen, you have the IQ, you are learning something technical, you have the IQ, your mind has the capacity, right? So always be open when you're looking for finding solutions. How else can you find a solution, right? I'll give, like, we are coming to examples, so that's why I'm not giving you example right now. I'm just going through a little bit of theory before trying to make sense of it. Yeah. So this is just another quote, which is by Alvin Toffler, who is a futurist thinker and also an educationist. So he says that the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who can't read and write. That is mostly, most of the people will be able to do. So what should education be? I mean, only that good education, impactful education would be something that is, make you apart. And that is what will be literate, where will be the people who, like, illiterate will be the people who could not learn, unlearn and relearn. So this whole process of revisiting your thinking, or revisiting your beliefs, that okay, this sikha tha fifth standard mein, or this you've developed a particular thing, that okay, this is how this works, this is how a cycle works, this is how a rocket will go up in the air. But who will be the one who will make innovation there? Only people, like, who will question, but how else can it go on, right? How else can we make the cycle work? If not pedal, how else? So only the people who will unlearn and try to relearn and ask the right questions will be able to innovate and be innovative in their approach, right? So that is what it is. It's not about reading and writing. It's about mainly creating a mindset of unlearning and relearning. Always asking questions to your own self. Always asking questions to the obvious things, right? So all of that is what's going to lead you to innovative solution, innovative thinking in your approach in whatever you do, right? So again, what does all this creative thinking, innovative thinking? There are different terms to say that, how to lead to innovation in whatever you are doing, even if you're making, like, the smallest of the simplest of things or the most complex of things. How can you still be innovative in running a company or running a class, a group, or whatever? How can you be creative in your yearly fests in college? How can anything be creative is basically something that encourages creative thinking. It focuses on problem finding the right problem. When something is not working, you want to come up with a creative solution, innovative solution. You have to understand what is not working. So I feel the first right step towards innovative solution is finding the right problem. Because sometimes, a lot of times, people are stuck with the wrong problem, and then they're trying to do all the things around that point. But maybe that is not the problem that is affecting your final solution, right? So finding the right problem is crucial to successfully innovating a solution, or like coming up with a successful innovation. Then innovative process, out of the box thinking. So again, you would have heard this term so many times: think out of the box, think out of the box. But we'll see some solutions where you'll understand, like some of these case studies that we follow now in a while, where you can see the implementation of all these in the most simplest solution. The solutions are not something like a rocket science. They're going to be the most simplest solutions, but you'll understand that that beauty in that simple solution has come through a lot of rigorous, creative, innovative process of design thinking. The whole back and forth that you just understood, the iterative process of failing and getting back with better solution. And of course, anything that has to be related to design thinking, or that advocates design thinking, is always user centric. So why this is important for non-designers, people who have not studied as a designer, is because currently, as engineers, as technical people in college, you are always learning something, and in the right way. I mean, your subjects have to be taught to you, because you are the one who's supposed to take the technical decisions, right? So you are always taught to, say if you're working on an electric vehicle or a two-wheeler, you're always taught to create the mechanism, create the jig or whatever in the most efficient way, so that it works best. What will be the combination that will give you, maximum torque or maximum power? So of course, that technical calculations, of course, you have to do. But later, like when you want to take this forward into a successful innovation, if you're making a cycle, you also have to keep in mind, like after the whole technical thing is solved, right? You have the technical torque ratio, everything in place, and you know that you can make this vehicle move without pedaling. right? So that way, technically, you are resolving something. But are you still sure people, like if you want to make a product out of it, which you want it in the market and want a business out of it, then what is important? It is important that how will who are you selling it to? Who are you making this for? Right? So it is for a particular user um, target. So keeping that user audience in mind, like how will the person feel comfortable? If the person is not supposed to pedal, where will the footrest be? What should be the ideal posture, the ergonomics? That is where user-centric approach comes into place. Okay, so all these things are something that you will see in the case study example that we're looking forward. But an ideal design thinking approach is what it focuses on all these 5 points. Yes, so I think this is sort of add on to that. It basically takes care of human factors, empathy. It acts as a bridge between very professional disciplines and interests that we saw in the three circle Venn diagram, and makes an impactful solution towards social, economic, and environmental needs, right? To create a better quality of life. So yes, one of the very simple and very basic innovative solution example of an innovative product is this that I think all of us would have seen is a sanitizer dispenser, right? So it was the need that was this need wasn't there before the pandemic, right? I mean, there was no need for this product, and the need was so urgent that people came up with these kind of wonderful solutions. So mechanical. So if you look at this, sorry, the whole Venn diagram, and you see how is this product satisfying all the three circles, and how is it a successful innovation. So that was the need of like the human desire need was there because of COVID, that was not there before, right? So that is what it completely ticks mark in that box. Then technically, so technically, how, was it feasible? Yes, because it was using a very simple lever mechanism, that was already used in say dustbins and a lot of other foot handle things. So that same foot handling mechanism was used in a product like this. So it was technically very feasible. Business wise, was it feasible? Yes, because technically it was so simple and resolved that business wise, I mean, you could just fabricate one very easily, right? So it was taking care of all these three very correctly, and that's why it was a successful innovation. Was it unique? I mean, unique in the way, was it like this just one person was making it? No, a lot of people making a lot of different adaptations of the same concept. Basically, the concept itself was very innovative, right? So I don't know if you read this or not, but Steve Jobs, who is one of the best designers in the world, who was one of the best designers, and has done some tremendous good design work, has said this, and it is something very true, that good design is how it works. It is not how it looks. A lot of times people think design is something which is on the surface, which is just form, which is just aesthetics. But good design, actually, at the core of it, is how something works. And this is a very good example of that, right? Now we're going to see some videos for better understanding of design thinking and design thinking for innovation, right? So, mm, I hope you can hear the video. If you can't, then Amit ji, please let me know if the audio is not there. Right? It should be there. It,
Okay. Okay.
yeah, up, the audio will start now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's audible.
Okay. Yes, so I hope this has helped you understand design thinking in the most simplest of ways, and at the same time, since it was very much a physical product, most of you can associate to it, relate to it, like all from all the years, since it's a very simple product like an apple picker, but how she had how the initially those four options were shown and how the whole mismatch was happening for different ideas and different solutions. So one more another short video, and then we move.
Design strategy is about thinking differently, putting yourself in your customer's shoes to design solutions that not only fit their needs but delight them by emphasizing through observing people in real life scenarios like shopping or through open-ended interviews to uncover what people do rather than what they want. Because if you ask people what they want, they don't necessarily know. By immersing yourself in your customer's world, you can understand their needs, gains, and pains. How? 1. Empathize. Immerse yourself in your customer's world. 2. Define the not obvious insights. 3. Ideate. Brainstorm solutions. 4. Prototype. Build an MVP, minimum viable product, of ideas in the shortest possible time. Then take those prototypes back to your customers and ask what they think. Design strategy starts with the customer, then offers the solution, not the other way around. For example, an Australian supermarket chain wanted to design a unique, engaging in-store experience to further set them apart from competitors. So we followed their customers around, interviewed them, and watched what was happening in store over a considerable period. Customers wanted to feel more connected with the suppliers of their produce, an in-store experience they couldn't find elsewhere. One of the winning ideas was an in-store milk dispenser with old-style glass milk bottles. Customers fill the bottles with single-origin, high-quality milk. They can see details of the cows and farms that produced it, with assurance the suppliers receive a better price. This experience delights customers and is very successful across stores. If we had asked what customers wanted, they probably have said cheaper produce. But by empathizing, living, and observing, we developed an idea that not only excites customers, but gives the store a unique edge by connecting with customers' hearts and minds.
Okay. Yes, so I hope these videos were helpful to understand how it is implemented. Yeah, they're using the right examples. And yes, so basically concluding what design thinking draws on is logic, imagination, intuition, and systemic reasoning. It is a combination of both imagination and logic. It's not telling you just be creative and just dream about things, make things in the clouds. No, there has to be a logic, there has to be intuition and a systemic reasoning to whatever you're drawing conclusion of in terms of a solution, in terms of innovation, to explore possibilities of what could be done and to create desired outcome that benefits the end user always. The end user is always the main person around which the whole solution is getting designed. Now we're coming through some case studies. So there are initially, I'm giving you 2 case studies of international clients and products. Later I have my own projects that I'm going to explain you, and what was our approach, what was the client's requirement, how did we approach it as designers. Yeah, so you will get a better idea. And yes, so this is one globally recognized case study, though we wouldn't have heard it much here. But if you look on the internet later, it is, so this I'm giving you, the first one is more of a service-based solution. It's not a product-based solution, but that to understand that, it's not always the product that has to be innovative or different. Something that does not have to be completely done differently, but just the looking at a service in the most different way, finding the right problems is what is ideally important. So this is basically PillPack is an medical e-commerce. Like now, this was the their success story is based in from the last 5 years ago. when e-commerce medical portals were not a norm even in the US. This is a US based company, and I mean there were companies like that, but how did they innovate to stand apart and become $1 billion company? So if they were a medical e-commerce portal who were giving pharmaceutical medicine, like pharmaceutical services to your doorstep. So now how we have these days, pharmacy and all to understand. But so how did they make themselves innovative in their approach? We'll see these videos for that because that they can explain it much better in the most short time. But yeah, so let's first see the video and then come out with a conclusion so you have a better understanding.
PillPack is a new kind of pharmacy. We package your medication and deliver it directly to your door. All you have to do is tear and take your next dose. Managing your medication has never been easier. Here's how it works. Each month, we'll sort your meds, including any vitamins and OTCs, into easy-to-open packets. Need other items like inhalers, creams, or testing supplies? We can send those too. We'll work directly with your doctors and insurance to resolve any issues. We'll adjust your medication if your prescriptions change, and we'll automatically handle all of your refills so you never have to worry. If you have questions or need to make an update, our pharmacists are available 24/7. Getting started is easy. You'll need your insurance information and a list of current medications. From there, we'll handle the rest. We'll verify your account and transfer your prescriptions to our pharmacy. You'll receive your first package in just a few weeks. Now, you'll never sort your pills, never stand in line at a pharmacy, and never miss your medication again. It's your medication made easy.
Hi, I'm Kelly, and today I'm going to give you a quick overview of how the PillPack service works. PillPack is a full-service pharmacy that sorts your medications into packets and delivers them directly to your door. Each packet has the date, time, and medications printed right on the front. Our packaging makes it easy to take the medications you need. Your monthly roll of packets will come pre-packaged in a recyclable dispenser. Our dispensers conveniently store your medication, and your med list is printed right on the side. We suggest keeping your dispenser somewhere that fits with your daily routine, like a nightstand or bathroom counter. Prefer your pills to come in a bottle instead of packets? Not a problem. If you need other pharmacy items, like inhalers, creams, and insulin, we can send those too. We also offer a reusable dispenser in 4 color options. We call this our premium dispenser, and you can order one from your account anytime. If you've opted for the premium dispenser, your medication roll will come in a bag each month. Simply load it into the dispenser and you're good to go. That covers the basics of how PillPack works. If you have any questions, you can give us a call. We're always happy to help.
Yes, so I would like it to be an interactive session. Amritji, can we do that? Like, can we ask some of them?
Yes, you can. We can surely. I mean, some of the most of the students are if some student wants to be interactive and if they don't have access, we will grant them access. But they can raise their hand first.
Yeah, or at least even in the message box, they can write, whatever they want to convey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
yeah. So yes. So I mean, I would just like to understand, if they are getting the whole gist and what we're trying to explain here in terms of this is such a simple solution with respect to yes. So if anybody has anything to say or any comments, like did you understand the topic well till now? Did you understand the relevance of PillPack or any comments based on that? You can please write it here. Sorry for the mirroring that might be happening because I've opened this window.
Yeah, that's fine. Actually, our VGEC students have one startup which is right now being incubated in that is also regarding this, but
Okay,
pill
lovely.
dispenser that is being incubated at this means this AIC, which is there in the LM College of Pharmacy. There
Right,
is
right,
an
right.
yeah.
Agree.
I forgot the name of that company, but they are actually the alumni
Okay. Nice.
of the college. So and they have got
Okay.
means funding for the same also.
Lovely.
So yeah, so that's actually one of the startup means, but it's kind of an electronic device based
Right,
organizer for the medicines. Like daily
right.
you can put it and it will also remind. But it's kind of an IoT based
Okay.
reminder
So
and
are
it's,
those
yeah.
people here? Are they, by any chance, are they here in the lecture or they are master students?
No. I don't think they will be. They would be here. But
Okay. Okay.
others, we can ask to the other students if they have understood. Like as per
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
understanding, this pill pack was about means for daily. I mean, if I need to in the morning, I need to take 2 pills. So they will pack these two together, and in the seal that particular pack, single pack,
Yeah.
I can take it out, and it will make for the whole month. I mean,
Yes.
morning I will just take one out. The next will come out automatically, and that's how
Yes.
it we can
No,
continuously.
that's
It will
true.
be there. Yeah.
That's true. So the whole, basically, if we take the whole step forward, what their approach was. So they worked with a company, with a leading company called IDEO. They are one of the leaders in design in every aspect globally since the last few years. And like the founders of IDEO are, the reason for a lot of design thinking material, textbook, books or whatever that is available online today. So they are that iconic in terms of designer. So basically, PillPack worked with IDEO and as a company, and IDEO was a design consultant. So basically, they understood the whole problem of pharmacy, as an individual. Who is the one who's going to go to pharmacy, especially in, US, where it's not like your family is going to go get your medicines every day and things like that. People are very dependent. So the whole idea, the whole understanding of their problem was the person who is sick and who is not well, or who has to go and take, or that is one kind of person. The another kind of person is somebody who is very busy, who has to still take their medications regularly for something or the other thing. So the whole issue as a end customer, if you're going to the pharmacy, standing in long queues, getting your prescription done and this and that, all the paperwork, etc. So all of that, what PillPack is saying, that we will take care of. You will just get everything at your doorstep. You just have to send us your prescription from the doctor, and then everything else is sorted. You don't have to worry about standing in long queues, going to the pharmacy regularly once your medication of monthly or weekly is over. So that is the major thing that they're solving. Yeah, people want that convenience, right? Like today we have home delivery for groceries and everything. So this started like almost, I think, 6 to 7 years back. That was their concept of making pharmacy easily available and at your doorstep. Also, so along with that, then they made it very simple that then for all kind of age groups, say for example, an 80-year-old, 90-year-old person is staying alone, right? So just how are the medicines coming to you since they're sending it to you? So how will they send? If they send it in their those uh, patties, that the strips that we get, is that is that convenient for an, say, an elderly person? How will they remember how much medication to take? How will they make sure they've taken those medications? So all are those day-to-day problems that they actually addressed, and not just convenient way of taking medicine. So say for an 80, 90-year-old, or somebody who has Alzheimer's, or who has any other mental issues, the thing that they don't remember things well. For them also, the simplest idea of having one different packaging per day or per dose. Each dose is packaged for different timings. If you can see even here, that this is the time you're supposed to take, and these are the medications, and this is the date. So that whole detailing to the solution, how they came to that was one when they understood the problem in the most holistic way. Who are our patients? Who will our end customers be? What are the different kind of problems that they currently have while taking medicines? Are they forgetful? They might, a lot of people buy medicine, but a lot of people don't complete the dose. That is one of the major issues. I mean, they have a very detailed case study. Somebody wants to go through that article, I can send it to you. So they understood all these problems, and then they came up with a solution. The solution is very simple, and that is the beauty of it. So innovation does not have to be complicated, does not have to look complex, or something very different as a product or as a service solution. But something like this is also a very good example of innovation at its core, and being a successful solution at the end of it, right? At the same time, it was creative in its way because nobody else has been approaching pharmaceutical solutions and medicine taking in the same way, right? So that was one of the reasons it succeeded very well. And in I think 2018, it got bid by Amazon in some 1 billion or so. That's what the study says. So one very simple approach, but at the same time, how design thinking was incorporated to come up with a very practical and impactful solution. Even though the outcome is very simple, but still it was very impactful, right? And similarly, another case study is of Airbnb. So I assume most of you would know, what Airbnbs are. They're basically now globally available. Stay like you can book your homestays and all through Airbnb. If you're going to Goa, something, you can book a villa, you can book a house that other people own, and they put it on Airbnb for temporary leasing out, like for 2 days, 3 days, and you're staying in those homes. So these are those private residential booking sort of a thing. And Airbnb is a portal for that, right? So basically, their case studies also, like 1-2 videos that I came across were like 8 to 10 minutes long. So I thought instead of showing that, then it is very much detailed, which you can go through on YouTube and see later. What does Airbnb exactly? How did they incorporate design thinking in their approach? And that is the founding and the stepping stone from where they started being successful. So I think it was founded around 2007 or so, the first year, where it was actually made, like as a website, as a portal, and they were that time functioning only in some major cities in the US. I think New York and one more other city around New York, or the whole of New York State. So, and during that time, the 3 founders, still there are 3 founders, then they were not doing well. So they were not getting bookings through their website. Now, technically speaking, the website was working. The coding, the as a product, the website and the portal, the web application that time was completely working fine. Yes, but still they were not doing well. So they're trying to understand. They had good apartments and good properties on their listing also from good people. So they're just trying to understand what is the reason why the clients are coming to the website. That also they got to know through the data, but they're not booking through their website. So when they studied this whole thing more in detail, asked a few potential customers, around them, they realized one common, very basic common solution or problem in all of them that they understood. It was again their study. It was their sort of reading through the lines that maybe this can be one of the major reasons. So what they concluded from that study, one of the main conclusion was they all had very poor pictures of the houses that they had put up. Like, you can see this before picture. So if you are, say, staying in another part of United States and you see a picture of a house like this, and will you pay for that? Like, will you have the trust factor? So basically what was lacking in the most core way is the trust, that okay, this house, how can I book, from being like so many hours away, I've never been here, what if it is wrong, right? So that trust factor as a new website, as a new service, they were not able to gain through their customers, and that's why they were not getting bookings. So they realized that maybe this is one of the reasons of poor pictures. What the solution? They themselves, they traveled to those houses in New York, clicked better pictures, or got it clicked by a photographer that would look something like a better picture like this, and spoke to the house owners for their feedback, of course, of the website and everything. And they just implemented this very simple change of just bettering the pictures for the same property. Everything else on the website was same. Only the pictures of what they were offering was much better. And what they saw was the booking rose by almost 400% within a month. That's what they claimed, right? So, and I mean, then of course it was not like an overnight success, but it was the first stepping stone for them to understand how reading, human requirement was the key to a successful business solution. So the key factor here was building that trust through better communication. The technologically a product was made, There's nothing to be done in terms of its coding, in terms of whatever, but to make the outward looking, the communication of the website better, right? So again, now like all the case studies that we'll be seeing, we are just going to conclude it, like come back to this diagram to understand how it is concluding to be a successful innovation. So with respect to Airbnb's case study, like this thing, the first thing that I've squared was something that they had sorted. It was a functioning website and portal created, it worked completely well, but it did not bring in the business, right? So it was still not a innovative solution is what, or innovative service, right? So after all that study, as we said, like what they did, so then since this was something that they worked on initially, then they came to human understanding. They tried to understand deeper, what do people actually need, what are they lacking, why are they not, like what is it that they're not getting through our portal, and why is the bookings not happening. And that's where they understood one of the thing was, say, weak for poor photograph, poor pictures of the place, which is not giving them trust, wasn't communicating ideally what the place is like, to get trust and get bookings. So they understood the desirability and the human part of that whole service. After that, like, so by making all these small tweaks and changes, by understanding human needs, they made the business viable, and by making it like scaled it up to a successful business. So only when they did this and they merged this with their technological possibilities and their technological strengths, were they able to make the business that they had created viable, that is successful. And that's when once it became a successful functioning product and service, it was an innovate, like it could be said that it was like a successfully innovated product, right? So innovation will always need the overlapping of all these three. So that's why I again repeat that if today in this lecture, if you have forgotten the rest of the slides, or if you have not being so interested or whatever, if I haven't communicated things as effectively, one thing I would like you to take back is this: what innovation looks like, and what will be, how will that be a solution. Like there'll always be these three things that you need to overlap. So whenever you're working on a product or a project or whatever next, later, this is the only thing, this is one of the important things I would say, that you can sort of check. Is it technically feasible? Yes. Is the human desirability, is the human needs, are you understanding what the end customers require? So this is where why I was emphasizing on customer or the end user or user centric approach in the whole design thinking framework. So when you learn design thinking through your subject, it's basically you interweave, you like weave it through your subjects, and then when you execute it, this is how you execute your design thinking through these three, overlapping of these three, to get successful innovation solution, right? So this is one thing that I would like you to remember. If you don't remember anything else, is this one model, like this whole diagram. Okay. So another well-known case study is that you can check out is Bank of America's Keep the Change campaign. And some of them are service oriented, but it is still very important, especially for third and fourth years, because they'll get a broader understanding of how like it is implemented, including the technology. Still, when you're making a service and not a product work, how you have to be more holistic in your approach to make something successful. So Bank of America's Keep the Change campaign, which helped them get a lot more customers who trusted them, and helped them, I think, started to use credit cards, if I'm not wrong. Then IBM, so IBM is a company that have were the pioneers in believing in design thinking before design thinking became a main sort of important topic in the management, in businesses and everything. So IBM has been following design thinking, and it is the core of their working, of their culture, since a very long time. And they give that the reason of their early success, or whenever they shot up as a company. That was Uber Eats, again one of the they have been said to be having a design thinking approach to their working. And in terms of Indian thing, I don't know, but since we are in Ahmedabad, this is Indian grassroots level innovations NIF, so National Innovation Foundation. I think a lot of you might be knowing. So even the approach there is, of course, since it's Innovation Foundation, the approach there is very pro design thinking. They go through that whole framework, find out solutions at very grassroots levels in India. So you can see more of how interesting projects and products they have done. Yes, now this is my one of my product projects that I had done 2 years back, and now the design, like this is not the design. The design is also patented, so the final design that you will see by the end of it. Right. So yeah, I'm just showing you the video, and I will stop at each slide to explain you basically what the approach was. Right. So basically, there is this. So this is for a client called Democratic Coffee, and they were making their own coffee, and they wanted to come up with these drip kits. So what you saw in the first slide, that is something that is available globally, right? It is a mass manufacture. It's like a tea bag for coffee. But what the requirement is of that drip kit is basically it is a solution for on the go, this percolated coffee. So the actual product that is there, whatever the filtering happens, looks like this in a glass flask, and there's a filter paper that is put, and there's very slow percolating of coffee. So there's coffee powder in this, and then hot water is poured into it, and then it takes quite many minutes, and sometimes even the slower the percolation, just said the stronger and better quality of coffee you will get. That's what is the main fundamental for people who might not be knowing, right? So now Democratic Coffee wanted to develop its own kit sachet. This is something that is widely available in the market, but they wanted to create their own drip sachet, which was solving a problem that this wasn't. So they wanted the whole sachet to sit above the cup. The ones that are currently so the ones that are currently available, as you can see, the one that we saw in the first slide, they dip inside the coffee. So that is the problem, and that hampers with the whole percolation process, because then it is submerged in the whole water that is getting collected. So that is what they want. So that was the main problem that they wanted to solve. This thing should be sitting above the coffee cup, right? So that is what I, as a designer, as a design consultation, we got the brief, right? Now, so when I study and understand what as a problem solver, what were the requirements of the whole case study? So one is, what would be the case? Like I have to make the kit for what will be the cup size. There can be variable cup size, a bracket of cup size that we understood that cup ye size ka bhi hota hai, the one which is wide face, like wide mouth, the one which is narrow and taller. There's a variable cup diameter on which it has to sit. So the design has to be made in a way that it can open up and close up and take care of all the different diameters that might be there, right? Like where my product will be used. So that was one design requirement. Other was the structure and support to lock. This has to sit. There has to be water to be poured on. There has to be the weight and the gravity has to be taken care of. At the same time, it should not fall into it, right? So it has to be a sturdy structural design that sits on the rim of the cup. The third was efficient percolation. Of course, the main product need of what the coffee process that has to happen, which is called percolation, should happen it should not hamper with the efficiency of the percolation, of course. And then, as I said, user is always important. So user interaction of how the person will open it, make it sit on the cup, pour water, all that has to be taken care of so that the person doesn't there's no accident, there is no other undesired result of the whole experience of having that coffee, right? So these were the design requirements. Now, so we started with complex functional design, something that looked like this. This is the first testing prototype. So if you see all these, structures, and if we go back, okay, we go a little forward. Yeah. So if you see these structures, does it is it taking care of variable diameters? The first point, yes. Like if you see given two cuts, making sure that it is opening and closing up a different diameter. Fine. What was the second point? The second point was like the structure and the support locking. So is it locking? Yes. You see this height and you see how it is sitting. So it was making sure that it is at least strong enough to lock. Third was efficiency of the percolation. So that also was made sure that it doesn't happen because it was open enough. There was enough space for the coffee powder, enough space for the water to percolate inside, right? And the fourth was, of course, the usability, like the user experience. So that was also taken care of. But now, if you think of the three circle diagram, and you ask, so this is taking care of the human desirability, I would say. As a designer, I like this. The first step was making sure that all my design needs from the end user and the experience perspective are getting resolved. Okay, but if you think of the other circle, which says a technological feasibility, and the third, which is the business viability, right? So if you look at this, and since you're engineers, I believe you understand that making something manufacturable is equally important, right? Otherwise, if you build a car, but each part of the car is so customized and so difficult as a process to make, then will it be viable? Like it won't be, because a complex product like this, the assembly of the inner thing and the outer thing, say each of those things would approximately take 2 to 5 minutes. So do you think as a final solution on the assembly line, will it be viable? No. They wanted to make, say, 10,000 pieces a day in their infrastructure. So only then the cost of it is something that will be viable as a business. So that is not the case that is happening here. Also, so that is one way to make sure that this is not the best result. Why? Because it is not taking care of the other two circles. It is not overlapping, right? So that's when you further work on a complex solution to make it simpler so that the other circles also take. Yeah, so starting with a functional design like this, then they were refined, the designs were refined at every stage of mocking and testing. So every stage they were like, some of the things were subtracting. Like since it was such a heavy structure, we started subtracting the unnecessary components. Like say this in between, is it necessary? That is when you ask, fine, you made this whole round thing. But is this part important in your structure? Can it survive without that? What is not important? Let's remove it. So it was like a subtractive process to come up with solutions. So this was the whole process so the process of design thinking and the whole approach of testing, trial, going back, coming up with creative solution, asking, questioning the obvious things, we came up to this final solution that you see here. So which is, if you see, it is a much simplified solution to the previous slides, right? So the final design which we came up by subtracting all the unnecessary components to the whole paper structure that you see. And at the same time, it is still fulfilling all the prerequisites that were there as a design requirement, right? And at the same time, so now it is taking the second technological circle, which says the manufacturing efficiency. So here the product is now material manufacturing efficient, right? So automatically when these two are this is taking care of that, it is making the product viable as a business. So these are some 3Ds. Yeah. Now let's go back to the presentation. Yeah. So concluding that, so basically in this case, the first one was designing a structural solution that takes care of it in the functional user need. Then after that is done, the simplifying of design was done to make sure it was technically manufacturable on the assembly line, right? Only when this was done, then it was like, once this was done, it made sure that the business, they make, their requirement was to make, say, 10,000 pieces daily. So the cost of each is approximately 2 rupees, the sachet. Only then it would be viable for them as a business, is what was their input. So once this is happening, that is automatically making it a solution which is viable for the business. So when all these three are now tick marked, it comes across as a successful solution that can be implemented, and made as an and can be called as an innovative solution. So again, were there any new material inventions and discoveries? Like, there was nothing new, but just a way of looking at the whole problem in the new perspective that we got this simple solution as this, right? So this is one of the case study. Again, the other one, so this is another case study that is a fruit vending electric rickshaw. So this again I did it as a part of working at Platypus Design Labs, which is again in Ahmedabad. I was working with them for this project. Like I was working there as an employee, and this is also one of very good interesting topics which I thought as engineers you would also be interested. Not that all of you would be mechanical engineers, but still, it's a bigger product. The product before this was still very simple, not very engineering. There was no engineering done to that, right? But at the same time, how to make that work, anything move, was equally important. And as you would know, smaller the product, it's more difficult to make things simpler, make hinges work, make the folding work, make so many technical small complexities. So is the case when the product is as big as a electric rickshaw. Now this so electric rickshaw was something that the client already had developed. It was a working, functioning electric auto. Again, this project goes back to 2016. So electric vehicles were not as mainstream as they are and heard right now. Yeah. So the whole project was to make this a successful fruit vending electric rickshaw, right? So that was the brief that the client had given us. Now the structure was already there. So the whole approach was, how do we make this into a moving mobile shop, right? Such that the person who owns the company is happy, and the end client, who is the people who are going to buy from this. I mean, the whole point of selling the fruits happened in the most efficient way and adds value to the experience, right? Otherwise, why will someone buy this rickshaw? Why will the manufacturer make the rickshaw if it is not making a difference, if it is not impactful as a solution in the market, right? So simple solutions, like simple things that we looked into and worked, like how did the design also come up? It was not just सोचा कि वो shop का वो उठा के इसमें रखो. There were a lot of thoughts that were kept, that went behind the this stared presentation is one of the things to show, and the one who comes to buy can see everything from the placement of the weighing scale, so that the fruit vendor can easily use that at the same time. And of course, a small space, how to make sure that you're using the space in the most efficient way. So the back triangular part that was going behind this, still how to make sure you are storing, using that as a storage. This, what you see, is an expandable drawer sort of a display. So you can expand your shop display if needed, if you're going to be stationed as a rickshaw, if this is required. So if you can expand the thing, that is modular. Behind this was the storage, as I said, like that was approached from the other side, right? So simple approach was taking care of the human ergonomics, not just any client, but the person who's going to use this rickshaw. Right? So the person, right? So this person, how will they be resting when there is nobody there? How can we use the same seat that is here? How can that come? How can we use this seat? Facing, there is a feature of a stepper that is there under this, that the person would step up and reach the last row. So how does it take care of the person's reachability? Then the vehicle is going to move around in all weathers, all conditions, everywhere. How can it still be weather protected? So that's where this part, like the front thing that opens up as roof. Again, it is not a very different solution, but something that was considered. So all the possible problem areas were considered while designing the interior shop part, the retail part and the retail experience of this. Yes, and then other features like the storage and all the other things. Like there's an iPad sort of a thing that you see here for other billing and other promotions ad and things like that. Yeah, and this was the first prototype that we made, which was successfully running. So you see the storage that I'm telling you is from a small backdoor for its approach. Yeah. So again, this was how was this taking care of this that the company that came to us with a working electric rickshaw, they were the technical people, engineers, and the technical team, right? So they made sure that the rickshaw was working technically, everything was resolved, and the electric rickshaw was functional, right? And so they understood one of the main understanding of the electric rickshaw when they came to us, like, how do we make this unique and different? So they didn't come to us to make it a fruit vending thing. So we realized, okay, what is an electric rickshaw and how will it compete with the current rickshaws in the market? Why will somebody go for an electric rickshaw? Because it has limitations. It has a certain speed limitation. It has certain kilometer limitations, right? Until then, there were no electric charging stations and all. It was too like this was again 2016 that I'm saying. So abhi bhi nahi hai, tabhi to bilkul bhi nahi tha infrastructure. So how do we still make this, successfully possible, at the same time a product that can be used in the market? So understanding the limitation of a product is also equally important. The limitations here were the 6 kilometers and the speed. So we're looking at that how it can just roam in a certain particular space, right? It has to decide that it can move only these many kilometers. So if it's like a rider rickshaw, then it can't, because the passenger, if it has to go from A to B, can never be determined. And the kilometers can't be locked, that it can run only these many kilometers. Right? And the speed is something that it won't be ideal for a passenger rickshaw. So that was out. Then the other thing was tempo, transport, storage, things like that. And coming down to the thing with, like, what if it is used to sell something as a mobile shop? Like, you have these laris everywhere. So how can this be like a mobile lari, right? So that is how it added value in the whole service. At the same time, what all it can cover that the current mobile laris can't equally cover, right? Because they're still manually operated. So this has a benefit in that way. So taking care of its limitations, we added value. In fact, rather with understanding the limitations, we added value. Where and understanding where the human need is there. People these days do not want to go out. If the vehicle is coming into your society outside your house, then are you happy to buy exotic vegetables, fruits, or even daily vegetables and fruits from a shop like this? Yes, maybe if it has other added benefits of coming regularly, having a prescribed like a plan of month every week it will deliver, then you don't have to worry about things, right? So it is adding value to the end person's life. That's why they'll be ready to use it, right? These days you have big basket, you have so many other such services, right, that you subscribe to. Sorry. So yeah, this was something of that. This was taking care of the whole human design. Is there a need of something like this? Yes, it is. There is what we had concluded. And only then the whole financial status, the money part is evaluated, that the cost of the rickshaw is so much and the value of the rickshaw will be so much, the value of the business will be so much in over the year. And so why will a person buy? Because they are getting return on that, right? So that's when the product has true potential, when the business wise also it is viable for the manufacturer, for the one who is buying it to sell, right? So only then it is a innovative solution. So I hope this is this analysis with this diagram is helping you to understand the approach of how to make something a successful innovation through design thinking. So again, the approach here, as I said, we figured out where the problem is, what are the limitations, found the the areas of opportunities, That is all a part of design thinking, which I'm sure you're learning. And hopefully you will be inculcating it in your projects and the coming years. So yeah, understanding how much time we have. Okay, not very much. So I had one more project, but it was not as important. So anyway, so yeah, so this concluding of the whole lecture. Now we have last 10 minutes here. So concluding our whole understanding of design thinking for innovation, what are the important points that I've like just tried to put it down in 1-2 slides? It is firstly to understand the users and customers' perspective. Since you are coming from a technical, non-design background, I think it has to be a very conscious effort always to, because in day-to-day life, I as a designer, as a design consultant, we work with a lot of manufacturers, a lot of technical teams whose background is engineering, either software, either mechanical or anything, electronics, or so, right? So of course, your default approach is never users requirement. Default approach is how will you make it manufacturing friendly? How can you, as I said, get the maximum out of a machine, the maximum out of a technological setup. But so that's where you have to, if you want to take a design thinking approach, add to that, always think as a user. Always try to, be a user's advocate. Okay, fine, I'm making this, but are these the right dimensions? What about reachability, as I showed you in the electric rickshaw example? A very mechanical, very proper automobile product. But the interior part of that was done keeping all those perspectives, the empathy in mind. So yeah, user customer perspective, that is empathy application is very important as a part of design thinking approach for innovation. Then another thing that I would like, as since you are students, and something that we are inculcating in the school, as I said, in the school module of design thinking that I'm a part of currently also, is to understand and value your unique skills and talents. Everybody has unique skills, talents, understanding, strengths, and weaknesses also. So try to honor that, understand what your strengths are, and try to develop a unique mindset of design thinking and a unique approach in your own way, right? Note that, and there are more than one ways to solve a problem if you're speaking creatively. So sometimes we are we are taught in a way that only there is one, like when it comes to say a mathematical problem, the solution of a problem or a sum is always one. It's an absolute. There's only one possible way that it can be correct. But creatively speaking, when we're trying to be innovative, creative, and we're trying to find different solutions, you can be creative in terms of to understand that there are more ways than one to solve a problem. So always look at a situation in that way. Your perspective is in a particular way, but there are a lot of different perspectives. Try to understand, like what are the different perspectives, different stakeholders, and do not afraid to be to fail. Since a young age, since our education system is such, we have this particular fear or from the word of failing. But as a design thinker, as a creative person, you're bound to fail. If you want to do something different, you're bound to fail. For example, a lot of people can be a follower or non-follower of Elon Musk. I don't completely agree with all his whatever ways of working and doing things, but he has been failing. Or rather, he failed so many times, to build that reusable rocket. He failed, I think, 2 to 3 times. It was a major loss, but he failed only to make something better. He understood why he would have failed. He iterated the solution and then tried again. This is a very extreme case because all of you might be new. So that's why I'm giving you an example of somebody like Elon Musk. So do not be afraid to fail, because if you want to do something innovative, you do something creative, failure is bound to happen. Your first step might be a failure, but just use it as a stepping stone to get ahead. So that is also one very important part of design thinking, is you iterate and you go back and you try something different. You do not, it does not, your process does not end then. Okay, my project failed. Oh, the whole thing is a failure. No, your insights would be right. Your problem finding would be right. You might have had more ideations, right? So that's why design thinking tells you that pehle ideate as many different kind of solutions you can, and then come down to the most possible, most correct and most effective solution by understanding, like how we saw in that example of the apple plucking machine, right? They weighed all the 4 options and they saw which one is what is the good feature of which design solution, and then they combined it and made one which worked the best. So iterate, fail, and try again. Do not be afraid of failure. That is something that as a student, design or no design, I think it should be encouraged more in schools and colleges. So yes. And then you approach design thinking, since you're really fortunate, I would say, like I'm a designer, but in our batches, the engineering students that time or any other fields, they were not taught design thinking, right? So later, so now it has gotten into the education thing, and now, as I said, like there'll be younger people than you who you might be competing or working in your workspace 2 years later, who would be taught design thinking since school time. So the advantage of learning that as a mindset since school would have helped them learn all the other new stuff, subjects and skills that they're learning after through the school and college, with the design thinking mindset. So they would have an advantage. So I would say if you are also getting that advantage of learning design thinking in colleges as you are, right? Every some semester you have design thinking as a subject. Try to approach and learn it as a mindset, make it as a mindset and a default way of thinking, rather than say a subject that you have to learn independently. It is never to be learned independently. It's supposed to be interwoven in all your other subjects and all your other projects. So try to approach it as a mindset rather than a subject and something that you have to remember. Yes. And this diagram, as I said before, also like utilize that design thinking mindset to enable innovation by addressing all the 3 stakeholders: the users, the technical or the manufacturing feasibility, and the business aspect of the whole product to get a successful innovative solution. Yes. And I'll leave you with this quote by Albert Einstein, which says, creativity is intelligence having fun. So creativity and all the heavy words that you listen to is nothing else. It's basically your intelligence, how you develop and how you work, play with your knowledge and whatever you know intelligently, and just have fun without having any fear of failure. Yeah. So I hope it was a successful, or maybe helpful lecture, and I've been able to impact your minds and made value of your time. Amit ji, over
Yeah,
to
yeah,
you.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. It was actually very informative session, and we even came to know about the patents and patented products that you have gone through the whole cycle of design thinking, and at the end making a product which is actually to the market, that has made it to the market.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I think, can we take 1, 2 questions if students have any?
Sure.
Okay, so those students, if anyone have questions, they can raise hand. I think there was one Mohit had question in between, but because the session was going on, so Mohit, do you have any questions? So you can unmute yourself and ask.
Yes, ma'am. My question is more generalized. So, if we have an idea, and we have to go to the researching base, so how do we start? What do we do in terms of research?
Okay, so very interesting, very good question actually. So you have an idea of, or you have a problem figured out. You have an idea,
Okay, yeah, I have an idea
a
about an
solution,
about a solution. Yes,
right? So I'm sure that a solution has a problem which you have identified, right?
yes,
So
yes.
I would ideally tell you, if take a step back first. Make sure you know everything about that problem and it is not hypothetical, right? So just learn about that whole problem scenario, the environment, like as I gave you an example of the whole the Kutch, like say that you're creating a solution for somebody in the tribal villages of Kutch, right? So either say you would have read an article and you say that this problem these people have, say water problems, right? So is yours how detailed is your problem? So I would first say, first study the problem. You have a solution, keep that with you, right? But study the problem in this whole design thinking approach. Try to gather as much data, as much insights, as much user point of view, whoever you're the end user of that solution is, or the problem, whoever is facing that problem. So try to understand all of that, then just analyze it, make sure that you know what you are solving. What is the direction? मतलब, find the right problem. Okay, इसमें ये पूरे scenario में ये is am I solving the most correct problem? Is this actually going to be effective? Maybe the problem, say in water shortage, is something else. Is about the rivers, or the rivers drying up, and you are solving problem of something else, for example. Right. Or maybe the problem is in the pipeline and you think that the water shortage is because of the rivers drying up. So you are trying to cover the rivers, for example. But the problem is not the river drying up. The problem is the pipeline leakage. I'm just giving you a very random example. So you understand that, make sure that you are focusing on the right problem. And for that, you take a step back, study that whole environment, study it very neutrally without your solution in mind. Right. And then once you have all of that, then if you have a solution, that is just an idea, no, right now, कि ये ऐसे हो सकता है. But so once you understand the whole environment, or the problem better, you will be in a better position to solve and then get your solution in the picture, in the scenario, and then ask yourself that, okay, now I know these are the problems. I know this is what all I want to solve. So is my solution fine? And ideally, you should start with all the possible solutions. आपको सबसे पहले एक solution by default mind में आया, right? So वैसे आप, if you think more and once you have studied this whole scenario, you will probably get a lot more options, lot more ideas rather. Right? So just figure out and synthesize all the ideas that you have and see which one works best. उसके लिए do try out, do trials, do quick prototypes. कौन सा सबसे best work कर रहा है? ये मैंने सोचा था ऐसे work कर रहा है कि नहीं? No. Oh, then there might be chances that आपने सबसे पहले जो idea सोचा था, because of which you got into this whole thing, is not working, but you have come across a better solution because you followed this process. That what happens 90% of the time. So when you follow this whole process, you'll be more aware of all the other factors that are affecting your problem and your problem scenario or the user, and you'll be able to give a more effective solution, right? So I hope I'm clear. Yes, who was it? Who was the one who asked the
Mohit,
question?
yes. I think
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
don't
it's
fall.
clear.
Yeah, someone has said that don't fall in love with your idea, because so
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
actually where
Don't
the
fall in
problem
love.
is.
Yeah. And in design, as a designer, what we are taught in college is when we are looking at a solution, the first idea that comes to us, like humko dikha, this is the problem. The first idea that comes to us, discard it. Why? Because that will 99% be the most obvious solution. जो सबको आ रहा है. So how are you being different or unique? You are not being different or unique, right? So the whatever आपको सबसे पहले आ रहा है is not the most creative solution or most creative answer to something, right? So dig deeper of what can be beyond the obvious solutions that are there. Yeah.
Fine. Any other question? I think we can take one last question. I think there are no more questions, and that was actually a great learning for all of us. Understanding the three quadrants, like business aspect, technology aspect, and then the human aspects, which is very crucial for any design thinking or innovation. So that was actually a key takeaway for all of us. So we would like to thank you for your time, valuable time that you have spent with our students, and we would be grateful to you for the and I hope that you have also enjoyed interacting with the students, and thank you very much for your time.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, also I have means in the chat section I have that's a company called Redison Medsol that had come up with this kind of peel thing. So I have said in the chat box, I have said it with the students, so students can go through it. So those students were around 2017 or 18 batch pass out students from VGEC, and they have started their company Redison MedSol, and their client is mostly for the US clients. So I mean, you are not far away from them. So I mean, they even started. They were good. They were from electrical background, but doing something in IoT. So it's not like it's a
Okay.
multidisciplinary approach. So
Of course, of course.
the students can get inspired from that.
Yeah,
Fine.
every product and every
Yeah.
outcome is multidisciplinary. So
Yes.
that, yeah, yeah.
Fine.
Okay.
We thank everyone. We thank you, madam, for your time. And now we
Thank
will
you so much.
conclude the session. And we
Yeah,
also
thank
thank
you
all the
for inviting.
students. Yeah. And now we call this as the end of the session. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Students can fill up the feedback form. We have shared the link. We will also send the assessment link to you, everyone. हम सब आप means you will all of you will receive. If your name is not registered, the link is still open. जो रजिस्ट्रेशन लिंक था वो अभी भी ओपन है, तो आप रजिस्टर कर दो, तो हम लोग ईमेल में सब लोगों को सेंड कर देंगे. So we will send everyone the e-assessment link, and those who are present and उनका e-assessment में there will be very nominal minimum marks. वो अगर आप पास हो जाते हो तो you will receive an e-certificate जो आपके 100 point activities के लिए काम आएगा. Fine. So now we also like to thank all the students who have actively participated, and so we call it